What up, bros? It's Bran, back with another video. Today I want to be talking about my bow and rapier build. This video is going to be mostly going over the build, the armor type, the weapon perks, the armor perks, the gems, all of that kind of stuff. Shout out to all the Mage players making the swap over to Bow Rapier. You guys are in shambles after all those nerfs. I feel for you. Come on over here to the Bow Rapier side. Come over to the Dex Life. I'll show you how we do it over here. So I like to run 300 Dex and the rest into Con. I like to keep it nice and simple. You could try to make it more of a glass cannon build by going higher up in the Dex. Your numbers are going to be higher, but this is what I have had success with. And I currently fear no other weapon combo in the game with this weapon combo. The only problems I run into with the Bow Rapier currently is that I cannot kill a life staff player. But that is the same for every other weapon in the game, I believe. Now, let's jump into the actual builds themselves for the bow. I have stayed pretty consistent with the setup I have run for the bow for the majority from level 1 to 60 and throughout almost all of my adventures in PvP and Outpost Rush. This has worked for me. We have many answers to a lot of the meta weapons, abilities, and what they're trying to do with this setup. We'll talk about that later. And we're going to hop over to the Rapier build. It's much of the same. This build has worked for me since I picked up the Rapier, and I don't plan on changing anything about it anytime soon. Alright, now let's talk gems. So, since I hit level 60, the first thing I did was farm my faction gear, and I've been using it ever since. And I also have been running the Onyx in the gear as well ever since. This was before I realized about the bugs. Even after the fixes, I will continue to be running the exact same setup. I just feel that Onyx gem gets me the most consistent value. 8 of the 11, going to be 12 weapons are physical damage, right? So the Onyx gem is just going to be more consistent, and I love consistency. So Onyx gems for me in everything I can get, and I want resilient on every single one of my pieces. So until I get a better resilient piece, I will continue to wear my faction gear forever until I replace them. I could have made a void bent medium chest, but I got this piece and I feel like it's close enough and it works for me, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to save that coin. We are 100% going to be staying in light. The dodge roll is vital to our build and what we are trying to do. Keeping distance from the enemies, doing more damage from ranged is both play into the playstyle, and that is exactly how I like to play. So far, I've been messing around with different gems on the bow, and I am liking the Onyx. Just because of the way healing works in the game, and potions and health pots, people consistently are at full health. And if you ever hit a 300 dex dodge roll, activating that automatic crit, and then you penetrating shot through a group of enemies, and you crit all of them, and you're getting this plus 30% damage bonus against them all because the fight was just about to begin. They were all full health. You will know exactly what I mean by this. Onyx gem feels extremely powerful on the bow right now. I'm liking it. The other option obviously would be the opal, but after messing around with the opal a lot, I am not really liking it, considering the fact that with the opal, you can do a full heavy attack on your enemy and dodge roll. And by the time you do another full heavy attack and release it, you will be full stam, and you will lose that value out of the opal. So opal not for me. Maybe it works better for you. If you like to spam light attacks more often on the bow, the opal is great. For the rapier, I run the opal. If I'm trying to finish somebody with the rapier, or if I'm fighting someone actively with the rapier, I am probably dodging around to keep up, dodge rolling around to keep up with them, or to get to their back, etc. So it works for me. For the jewelry, we target specific perks on each one of our jewelry, and I pretty much have just upgraded from there as we have gone. So you always want health on your amulet. You always want keen awareness on your ring, and you always want refreshing toast on your earring. Those are the most important perks, and those are what we targeted. And then everything else is a cherry on top as far as the jewelry goes for me. Now let's talk weapon perks. And this is definitely up for debate, and I would love to hear down in the comments what you guys think and what your opinion is on some of the weapon perks, especially the bow. Let's get right into it. So off the top of my head, some of the best perks for almost any weapon is going to be Enchanted, Keen, and Vicious, right? And there is thankfully a bow that we can farm from Lazarus. It is called the Lazarus Bow. And once you get this at a 600 gear score, it is going to have exactly those 3 perks. It's going to roll those in that Enchanted, Keen, and Vicious. So that is the bow I am currently seeking. I'm farming my watermark up for the bow, and as soon as I am in range, I'm going to be spamming as Lazarus as much as I possibly can, trying to get my hands on that bow. But it could potentially not be the best setup for the bow, surprisingly. There's also other perks in the game that are pretty strong for the bow. Let's just list out some of the perks. Okay, so we have the Enchanted, the Keen, and the Vicious. We also have Keenly Jagged. We also have Keenly Empowered. We have Vorpal. And surprisingly, the Chain Damage perk. Chain X, whatever, Chain Fire, Chain Nature, Chain Ice, doesn't matter. This Chain Nature, after testing it, and keep in mind I'm only using a 576 bow, it is triggering on single target, meaning in a duel, in a 1v1 scenario, when I hit somebody, every 2 seconds when I hit them, it is proccing on that one target. It doesn't need to chain to somebody else to proc, and it is doing about 260 damage, which is about as much as Enchanted would be adding to your basic attacks, which is kind of crazy because this spreads AoE. And with Keenly Jagged, something that you can do to make Keenly Jagged extremely valuable. Now let's talk about the damage Keenly Jagged does first. It is ticking for about 100 damage per second for 10 seconds, doing 1,000 damage over the course of the bleed, and this is again only on a 576 bow. This would scale higher with the weapon damage. It does 7% weapon damage per second for 10 seconds, right? So at a 576, it is doing 1,000 damage, and we can guarantee spread this Keenly Jagged to our enemies with a 300 dex dodge roll, guaranteeing a crit on either penetrating shot, or maybe we're running rain of arrows in a war, and that's going to apply Keenly Jagged to all of those targets simultaneously, which is a massive, massive amount of damage, and is something to definitely consider. Now for the Rapier, I'm still testing a lot of things right now. I'm testing a refreshing move because on paper it sounds insane. If you're consistently attacking a target in PvP, you can flesh A onto them, get your riposte combo, and then stand toe-to-toe with them for as long as you can. And after a few seconds of continuously attacking them, all of a sudden your riposte and flesh A are back up again because of this refreshing move. It is interesting. I like it so far. Not sure if it's going to make the cut over just raw damage like an Enchanted Keen Vicious setup would be, but it's definitely nice. Now moving on to the armor perks. In the end game, we are going to be having at least 3 perks per armor, and one of them in my mind is an auto slot in and is irreplaceable, and that is going to be Resilient. So we will be running Resilient on every single one of our armor pieces forever. And for the Rapier Bow, there are two perks I want to fit in some of these slots, and it won't matter which slot you put it in. Just get a piece with it with Resilient, and you're happy. And that's going to be Sundering Riposte and Refreshing Flesh A. Those are the 2 perks we want to go with this combo. Unfortunately, none of the bow armor perks are going to be making the cut. And for the rest of the perks, we will be filling in with refreshing and refreshing evasion. Now, we already touched on this, but again, with the jewelry, we're mostly looking for health on the amulet, and we can fill the rest in with a refreshing, or for the amulet, something nice like a divine. And then for the ring, we got the keen awareness, and then we can do the same again, refreshing and refreshing evasion. And the earring, we pretty much just care about refreshing toast. Regenerating is very nice as well, but that refreshing toast, being one of the most powerful PvP perks in the game, is going to be the most important thing to pick up for our armor perks. Now, I just want to end the video with some quick tips I have for you guys off the top of my head, and that's going to be track the timer for your 300 dex roll so that you can guarantee a multi-crit with a penetrating shot or rain of arrows in war. Another tip would be to don't underestimate the amount of damage poison shot can do, and also wall bang with the poison shot. A lot of times you'll have someone very low and they'll be hiding behind a tree or a line of sight object. You can go ahead and place the poison shot to the side, either side of them, and it will apply to them because of the cloud that emits from the poison shot. Another tip would be to use evade shot to get out of gravity well, as well as use flesh A to get out of gravity well. You actually have multiple ways to get out of them. You end up trading cooldowns with a Great Axe player, and they can never catch you if you use them accordingly. Another tip I would have for you guys is to make sure you're utilizing that final passive in the flesh A tree. Getting that light attack cancel on the end of your flesh A, doing a flesh A through the target, 180, backstab them with that final attack of the flesh A, is going to be a massive burst of damage, and you're going to want to get used to the distance the flesh A travels so that you can land these consistently. Another tip would be to use evade as a movement ability, not only using it to evade damage. Use it as a movement ability. You actually can work it into your kiting routine. You can use the evade as not only a movement away from your target, but it also is going to generate you that 20 stam. So use it, and it'll make it so that you can dodge roll more often when you generate that stamina. The final tip I would have for you guys is to make sure that you are utilizing the stagger mechanics on your penetrating shot and your evade shot. You can interrupt abilities like burnout with either of these abilities. When a mage wants to close distance on me and try and get me in an ice shower, I can go ahead and penetrating shot him to stop him and stop his burnout, and he won't be able to connect to me. That's going to be everything I have for you guys today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and follow me over at twitch.tv/BrandTVX. If you have any questions about the build, bring those over to my stream. I am live almost every day. Peace, guys.